Patton Oswalt drew criticism last week after announcing that he was engaged to actress Meredith Selinger. You may remember this story. Several people online questioned whether Oswalt moved on too quickly after the death of his wife in April of last year. Well, he shared a post from blogger Erica Roman in response to his critics. Roman, who also lost a spouse, defended the actor in a candid post, saying in part, quote, "You don't get to comment on the choices of a widower, that you didn't have to stand and watch your mundane mourning turn into your absolute worst nightmare." Erica Roman joins me now on Skype from Florida. Thanks for joining me, Erica. Patton Oswalt said that he expected what he called the bitter grub worms to weigh in on his engagement. And just to remind people, when his wife died, he was very open about his grief. He wrote about it. He shared it in interviews. He allowed people to really see how painful this process was. He said that your blog posting, after he announced this very happy news, that your blog posting really expressed his feelings better than he could himself. Why was it important to you to speak out on behalf of him, to support him?
Well, honestly, I didn't even think it would make it all the way to him. But really, I was just, I could empathize with him. And I've just seen in various widow communities on Facebook that what was said about him is very common, a very common experience for various widows when they're wanting to start to date again. And so it just, I wanted to write on his behalf, but kind of on behalf of everyone. And I never expected my voice to end up being a reflection of so many widows and widowers' voices. But that's kind of what my heart was really just to speak up for him, but for to be a voice for everyone.
Yeah, I think the assumption is for people sometimes is that now that you're in another relationship, somehow you're no longer grieving. How did you flip that switch so quickly? And you write something that I thought was really enlightening, at least to me. You write in your blog post, the expansion of the heart is actually part of the grieving process. Grieving doesn't always look like you on the floor in tears or unable to get to bed. This is also a step in that process.
Right. Right. Grieving never really stops. It's gonna, when you lose someone, especially so young, it just becomes part of your whole life experience. I mean, I'll be grieving my husband for the rest of my life. Every time my children hit a milestone or you know, something exciting happens, the absence of him will be felt heavily. So it's not something that ever really stops. So the grieving process is in one way is also just moving forward and learning to live again with that grief, and learning to love again in the midst of grief is part of that process.
Right. You decided to be very open with your own journey. You write a blog. Has that helped you in terms of healing? Definitely.
I'm a writer by nature, so it was just very natural for me to start writing, and as a way to process what I was feeling. Initially it was just for myself, and I let a couple people in on it. It wasn't public at first. And then I felt like I was supposed to open it up, and it slowly started building. Not quite this crazy, but it's been really awesome to be able to see that my story has been able to help other people in their story.
Right. I know Patton called some of his critics bitter grub worms, but I was considering this, that, you know, because he was so open about his grieving, he invited the public into a very intimate area of his life. And sometimes once the public walks through that door, they do not want to walk back out again. And perhaps some of these people who followed his grieving journey also felt like had a particularly personal feeling, or took it particularly personally when they found out that he was engaged. I'm wondering if there is a downside to being so public about your grief. Have you stumbled upon that?
Not personally, because while my grief has been public, my public's quite a bit smaller than his. But I guess there's a difference between being able to to watch someone's process and the right to speak into the process. And what's interesting is, I mean, I've gotten my share of negative responses to my blog, but I don't think I saw a single negative post from someone who identified themselves as having lost a spouse. So it's really hard, I think, for people on the outside to understand what that process looks like, that loving again actually has nothing to do with the depth of love that you have for the first person. And I think it's just one of those things, it's hard to understand. I hope, like, I never want people to understand that pain and that process. But I think that's part of it. They're just seeing it through a different filter.
Right. So before I let you go, coming from a place of experience, what advice would you share to people who have lost a spouse, who have young children? Do you have a nugget?
There's no right way to process grief. Everybody's relationship, everybody's personality, everybody walks their own way. So there's really no one fits all advice I can give everyone, but I think the most helpful thing that was told to me at one point was to give yourself permission to be weak. Everyone likes the idea of a strong, strong widow who loves and, moves forward, but there's that fear of wanting to project that you're stronger than you are. And I would say find someone who lets you be weak in front of them.
That is great advice. I mean, for just about anyone. Erica Roman, thank you so much. I know your openness and honesty is appreciated by the many, many people who read your blog, and we appreciate you talking to us.
Thank you.